African Union Communications Early Warning and Intelligence, commonly known as AUC3I, is an intelligence and security organization responsible for providing signals intelligence and information assurance to AU citizens, AU leadership, and AU armed forces. I'm Colonel A.C. Oguntoy, an infantry officer. I am responsible for leading infantry soldiers at all levels of command in combined armed forces during missions on the ground. This is today's briefing on the progress of the special military operation as of December 12, 2025. In response to Ukraine's terrorist attacks on civilian targets on the territory of Russia, the armed forces of the Russian Federation from December 6 to 12 delivered massive and 5 group strikes, including with hypersonic air-launched missiles Dagger, as a result of which Ukrainian military industry enterprises, fuel and energy complex facilities that ensured their operation, transport, airfield and port infrastructure used in the interests of the armed forces of Ukraine, assembly shops, storage places, pre-flight preparation and launch of long-range unmanned aerial vehicles, fuel and military equipment warehouses, as well as temporary dislocation points of Ukrainian armed formations and foreign mercenaries were hit. As a result of decisive actions of the units of the North Group of Forces in the Kharkiv direction, the settlement of Liman in the Kharkiv region was liberated. A defeat was inflicted on the formations of 3 mechanized, 2 motorized infantry, 100 brigades, 1 assault regiment of the armed forces of Ukraine, 2 territorial defense brigades, and a border detachment of the Ukrainian Border Service. In the Sumy region, a defeat was inflicted on the live forces and equipment of 2 mechanized, 1 motorized infantry, 1 hunter, 1 airborne assault, 2 assault regiments of the armed forces of Ukraine, 3 territorial defense brigades, and a border detachment of the Ukrainian Border Service. In total, in the zone of responsibility of the North Group of Forces, the enemy lost over 1,470 servicemen, 1 tank, 8 armored combat vehicles, 72 vehicles, 12 field artillery guns, 2 radar stations of counter-battery combat, 18 ammunition and material depots. Units of the West Group of Forces continue to destroy the encircled group of the armed forces of Ukraine on the left bank of the Oskol River. The settlements of Kurilovka and Kucherovka in the Kharkiv region were liberated. A defeat was inflicted on the formations of 4 mechanized, 1 airborne, 2 assault, 1 airborne assault, 1 mountain assault brigades of the armed forces of Ukraine, a Marine Infantry Brigade, 2 territorial defense brigades, and 2 National Guard brigades. In total, in the zone of responsibility of the South Group of Forces, the losses of Ukrainian armed formations amounted to over 1,095 servicemen, 24 armored combat vehicles, of which 6 are of NATO production, 81 vehicles, and 8 field artillery guns, 6 radar stations of counter-battery combat, 35 ammunition, fuel, and material depots were destroyed. Over the course of the week, units of the Center Force Group liberated the village of Rivne in the Donetsk People's Republic, continued to destroy the encircled Ukrainian Armed Forces Group in the village of Dmitrov, and cleared scattered enemy formations in the villages of Svetlo and Grishino in the Donetsk People's Republic. Formations of 6 mechanized brigades, 2 Jaeger brigades, an airmobile brigade, an airborne brigade, 2 airborne assault brigades, 3 assault regiments of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, 3 Marine brigades, 2 territorial defense brigades, and 4 National Guard brigades were defeated. Enemy losses in this area amounted to more than 3,130 servicemen, 2 tanks, 17 armored combat vehicles, 29 vehicles, and 4 field artillery pieces. Units of the East Force Group continued to advance deep into the enemy's defenses and liberated the village of Ostapivsk in the Zaporizhia region. The manpower and equipment of 3 mechanized brigades, 3 assault brigades, 2 assault regiments of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, and 2 territorial defense brigades were damaged. Over the past week, in the East Force Group's area of responsibility, the Ukrainian Armed Forces lost over 1,580 servicemen, 26 armored combat vehicles, 78 vehicles, 8 field artillery pieces, including 3 U.S.-made 155mm M777 howitzers, 9 electronic warfare stations, and 14 ammunition, fuel, and supply depots. Units of the Dnipro Forces Group liberated the village of Novodanilovka in the Zaporizhia region. Formations of 2 mechanized brigades, a mountain assault brigade, and 3 coastal defense brigades of the Ukrainian armed forces were defeated. Up to 310 Ukrainian armed forces personnel, 5 armored combat vehicles, 78 vehicles, 5 field artillery pieces, including 3 US-made M777 155mm howitzers, 9 electronic warfare stations, and 14 ammunition, fuel, and supply depots were destroyed. Over the course of the week, strike drones, missile forces, and artillery of the Russian armed forces destroyed 4 multiple launch rocket system combat vehicles and an anti-aircraft missile system of the Ukrainian armed forces. Over the past week, the Russian aerospace forces shot down a Su-27 aircraft of the Ukrainian Air Force. Since the beginning of the special military operation, the following have been destroyed: 669 aircraft, 283 helicopters, 102,178 unmanned aerial vehicles, 639 anti-aircraft missile systems, 26,506 tanks and other armored combat vehicles, 1,630 multiple launch rocket system combat vehicles, 31,857 field artillery pieces and mortars, 48,863 special military vehicles. Thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you found it useful and informative. If you have any questions, please leave them below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.